What's up, everybody? Kyle here at Let's Talk Wax with Prospect Hot Sheet number 6. Now, I did just return from vacation, so this hot sheet is going to cover the last 30 days as opposed to the videos that I do every 2 weeks. So just take note of that when you see a larger amount of home runs hit over the last 30 days. Now, before we jump into our top 15 and top 5 for each league in the minor leagues, we've got about 60 prospects to cover here in this episode. I'm going to jump into our ranking system so you guys understand what a Juggernaut ranking is and also what a Let's Talk Wax rank is. Now, my Juggernaut ranking system is strictly stat-based. It does not have my subjective opinion involved. The only weakness with the Juggernaut ranking system is it does not include defensive upside. It only has to do with bats. So I take weighted on-base average, stolen bases per plate appearance, K percentage, swing strike percentage, WRC plus, and age level. I created a formula that weighs those things differently to create rankings for all minor league players. I update these rankings about every 2 weeks, and you can find those on my Patreon page along with my completed and finalized 2023 rankings. And as I mentioned before, these are strictly objective. They do not include my opinion. And my Let's Talk ranking system is purely subjective. This is purely my opinion. Sometimes my opinion is good, sometimes my opinion is bad, and it's mostly bad. So I definitely think that you should consider researching your own prospects, no matter what type of hobby content you follow. I do miss just as much as anybody else, but I do like to break down numbers, include defensive variables, include other variables that you can't really get through stats, maybe like injuries, certain performances over short sample sizes and things of that nature. So my Let's Talk Wax ranking system is based on player ceiling, and it goes elite through 7, with elite being very good. We've got 1 elite player on the hot sheet today, and 7 being probably an upper level minor leaguer, fizzle out, and we've got also one of those in the top 5 in this episode. So might be a good time to sell the number 7. You're going to see the top 5. But without further ado, let's jump into 15 through 11. So at number 15, we're going to kick it off with Arjun Nimmala, 18.7 Toronto Blue Jays. He is a shortstop and has played between the Complex League and Low A. Now, the profile with Nimmala right now is a big power ceiling, but there is some evident swing and miss going on since being drafted. Now, he is one of the youngest players on this list, along with Robert Calais and Welbin Francisca, but he definitely has the highest K rates of those 3 players. Definitely something to keep in mind before you jump on guys out of the draft that are very high profile. I really like to make sure I have a good sample size of players before I buy their cards or, consider collecting someone. Now, I do think that he's gotten very cheap. I think his cards have dropped significantly since the release of 2024 Bowman. He was out of that fresh release, and his cards have dipped quite a bit. I think I did see one sale for about $35 to $30, but they're sitting kind of close to 50. The comps are kind of there's some space between what you can find for Nimmala, but like I said, he's got a huge power ceiling. He's got a 242 ISO, hit 4 home runs over the last 15 days. Just the big thing here is the 210 batting average, which is the lowest on this list, and a 32.4% K rate. He's a long levered kid who still has plenty of room to grow into his body, and I do notice with younger players who have very long levers, they are susceptible to some velocity, coming out of high school and going into professional baseball. There is some sort of adjustment with some of those players. So definitely something to consider. I wouldn't say that he is down and out, but I did really notice a lot of people actually trying to pick him up over the last week or two on different social media groups. So he's going to be at number 15 on this episode. That's going to bring us to number 14, Yasser Mercedes. He's out of 2022 Bowman Chrome. He's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 3. His cards are probably close to an all-time low. I think they actually dipped to the biggest low he's ever experienced back in 2023. He had a really bad year in 2023, and I was really high on Yasser out of the 2022 Chrome release, and he was probably the last straw that really made me stop buying into DSL stats. The 2022 Chrome release and the 2021 Bowman Chrome release are pretty much bloodbaths from guys who played really well in the DSL and came stateside and just struggled tremendously. So I always mention this in all of my videos, and the next big Bowman release is going to be 2024 Bowman Chrome. Just be very weary of Dominican Summer League stats. Do not buy into guys who have only played in the DSL, especially guys who have $100 plus autos. We are seeing just complete and utter disastrous performances from these guys from 2022 and 2021 Bowman Chrome as they enter low A and high A. Some of them haven't even made it out of low A yet, but just something to be very mindful of. But Yasser is seeming to have a little bit of a comeback in 2024. His numbers are creeping back up. I do wish I could get some data with him in low A because he's repeating the complex league, but he had 4 home runs and 9 doubles over the last 30 days, a .371 batting average. He's still 19.7. He's a little old for the complex league. He would be perfectly age appropriate for low A, which is where I'd like to see him hopefully by the end of the year. On the season so far, he's hitting .331 with a .235 batting average. Really good K numbers. He's got a little thump, 6 homers and 18 stolen bases. So hopefully Yasser can keep it turned on for the remainder of the year and get a little promotion to low A. I'd love to see some data with him there. At number 13, we've got Jackson Holliday, who I don't think has left the hot sheet all year since returning from the major leagues and coming back to AAA, where he struggled a little bit, in his first call-up, but that happens with young prospects. The bad thing about Jackson Holliday is the Orioles are so good, they really didn't have enough time to kind of wait out his struggles at the beginning of the year when he was up there. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with some of these higher profile prospects in the Orioles organization. We've got guys like Holliday, guys like Kobe Mayo, who is just destroying the ball right now, Samuel Basallo. They have got some very high-profile prospects. Their farm system is pretty much one of the best in baseball right now, along with the Seattle Mariners, who have some really high-profile guys in their farm system as well. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. I think Jackson Holliday is going to be fine. He's the #1 prospect in all of baseball. He's an elite Let's Talk Wax rankie, the only one on this list. I just think the kid needs time. He's 20.6 years old. We saw, Jackson Chourio struggle in the front half of the 2024 season, not quite as badly as Holliday, but the Milwaukee Brewers were in a position to grant him some leeway, I guess you could say. They moved him to left field. They put Frelick out in center. I do think he could be a high caliber center fielder in his future, but like I said, he was offered a little bit more leniency with his time, and his struggles weren't quite as bad. But I think Jackson Holliday is going to be fine. He just needs to get up there and get reps every day, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen in Baltimore. I'm not sure if he's even considered to be a trade piece with Baltimore right now, but I do feel like something's going to happen in that organization because they've just got tons of high-profile prospects. But like I said, Jackson Holliday, he's probably my favorite prospect in baseball right now that is not in the major leagues. Now, if you guys enjoy my content and you want to take a look at some of my exclusive stuff, there's lots of content on my Patreon page to keep you guys busy and keep you up to date in the hobby. I've got autograph checklist breakdowns for all releases from 2019 to the present, where I break down players. They have their career stats on there. I write a little write-up about them. I give them a Let's Talk Wax rank, and I keep the current comps updated. I usually update those about every 2 or 3 months. I get about 3 or 4 updates for each release every year, depending on how busy I am with my daughter's softball team. I have team break guides for all releases from 2020 to the present. As I mentioned before, you can get access to my Juggernaut rankings over there as well that I update every 2 weeks for all minor league players. I just finished updating my top 100 Bowman Chrome Autos under $50 list last week, so that is some new fresh content over there for you guys to check out. My top 100 Bowman Chrome Autos list has not been updated since the beginning of the season, but that is next on my list. I usually update that about 1 or 2 times a year. I think the fan favorite is the top 100 under 50. We also have an awesome Discord server run by my man Bobby. You can find him at Enforcer149 over there. We have daily prospect news, promotion and call-ups, information, general hobby discussion. We've got grading help in there, and you can also do some personal advertising if you guys have Whatnot accounts, you want to advertise breaks, whatever you want to do. We have a really cool community with 400 plus active members, and like I said, my man Bobby does a great job moderating that Discord. You get early access to all my YouTube info, video info, and articles that Bobby writes. So a link's in the video description if you guys want to check that out. Tons of exclusive content over there, and you can get it all for only $5 a month. At number 12, we've got Nacho Alvarez. He's going by Nacho now. If you check any mainstream baseball site, he's no longer going by Ignacio. So maybe you can find some cheaper auctions on eBay if they don't put Ignacio and you just search for Nacho Alvarez. Sometimes you can find some cheap auctions on name discrepancies like that. But anyway, he's 21.3. He was recently promoted to the major leagues. I did put the data down this morning, so he's only got a sample size of 4 at bats. He was 0 for 4 and played second base in his big league debut. Now, the cool thing with Nacho is he is a very, I didn't really foresee him being as good defensively as he's been in the minor leagues. He's played shortstop all the way up through the minors. He's also started to grow into a little bit of power. He's dipped into some power so far, more than he has in his career in 2024. He's got a 124 ISO, which, I mean, isn't a ton of power, but it's still more than he had been putting out previously in his career. The thing with Nacho is the K numbers, the approach, and the hit tool. He's hit 293 over this season with sub 20 K percentage, a sub 2 K to walk ratio. He's got enough speed to be a little bit of a pest on the bags. I don't think it's going to be big time impact speed at the major league level, but he definitely could be a pest. He's number 20 on the Juggernaut ranking system, and he's a 2.5 on the Let's Talk Wax rank. His cards are pretty much everywhere on social media right now. That usually happens around call-up time. Everybody dumps their cards, and he's got a pretty big pool of buy opportunities on social media for sure. 2022 draft, his cards are about $50 right now. I think on release of 2022 draft, his cards were right about $15. So if you got into him right on the release of draft, you're sitting in a pretty good position right now. Now, I did not, I'm not sure how long he'll stay up there, probably dependent on what Albies does with his injury, but Albies does spend a lot of time on the injured list, so we'll have to see what happens with Nacho. Excited for the kid. He was kind of a cool story coming up through the minor leagues and college and everything. But we got number 11, we've got Trey Morgan. He is a LSU Tiger, and I am a big Go Tigers fan. 22.1 Tampa Bay Rays. He does not have a very high defensive ceiling. This kind of impacted him at LSU as well. He switched between left field and first base, and when Jared Jones crushed the ball during Morgan's senior year, they did put him in left field and they put Jared Jones at first base. So they're both very low premium positions at the major league level, so he's going to have to really hit. I don't know how much power he's going to run into. If you watch Trey Morgan in college, he had an all-fields approach. He really stayed in the middle of the field, was kind of a gap-to-gap guy. But, man, the hit tool is really special. He's got a sub 1 K to walk ratio, meaning he takes more walks than he does strike out. He needs a promotion to Double A. He started the season in Low A, and I was like, man, when are they going to promote Trey Morgan? They finally did, and he's doing very well in High A as well. So 362 batting average, 5 home runs, 16 stolen bases. Another guy like Nacho, I don't really see impactful speed as he moves up the minor league chain, but he does have some sneaky wheels, at least in a straight line, because he doesn't have a whole lot of decent defensive value anywhere else. But his cards have jumped all the way to $60. He doesn't have any base autos, so you're going to have to buy a refractor and up. But I do love Trey Morgan just because he's a former Tiger. I love to see my Tigers doing well at the professional level. But let's jump into our top 10 through 6. Kicking off number 10 is Ryan Clifford, another very interesting prospect who was traded to the New York Mets He was drafted by the Houston Astros, and him and Drew Gilbert both went to the New York Mets. Now, Drew Gilbert struggled a little bit. He's been injured. He was a guy that I liked. He didn't really do much post-trade. Ryan Clifford struggled tremendously in the front half of this season. He's just recently started to really pick it up, though, over the last month. Now, all these blue numbers, like I said, are coming from his struggles in the front half. He's a big power bat. He's got tons and tons of power. There's not a whole lot of defensive ceiling here. But like I said, he's got big juice. He's got 14 home runs so far in the first, I guess you could say, maybe 3/5 of the season post All-Star break. But you have to watch the K numbers, a 30.1 K percentage. He does take walks, though, a 1.54 K to walk ratio. So 5 home runs and 6 doubles. He's hitting 3/9 over the last month. He's a pretty high ceiling bat if he can get into more contact in the back half of the 2024 season. But like I said, you have to be careful with guys who don't have a lot of defensive value, because it is very difficult for them to break into the major league level unless they're going to absolutely stroke. At number 9, we've got Aiden Smith, 20 years old, Seattle Mariners outfield prospect, playing in low A, just turned 20 a few days ago. A little old for the level, but he was one of the older guys in the draft. I think he was like a 4th round pick, so kind of a sleeper coming out of that 2023 draft. He's in 2024 Bowman. His cards are right around $20 right now. He's put up really solid numbers. He's hitting 284 with a 186 ISO and a 24.3 K percentage, which is kind of on the fringe for me. So I'm wanting to see what Aiden Smith can do in high A. I just don't know where there's room for guys like him in the Seattle Mariners organization. That is just chock full of very good minor league players. So like I mentioned before, Seattle and Baltimore are sitting pretty high in the player development category, and they have some pretty primetime prospects right now to check out over the Bowman releases. So Aiden Smith, 9 home runs, 28 stolen bases. He's number 76 on the Juggernaut ranking system, a 2.5 on the Let's Talk Wax scale. And like I said, he's fresh out of that 24 Bowman release, so his stuff's going to be a little inflated. That stuff's the 2024 Bowman stuff is kind of starting to calm down a little bit, starting to fizzle out. The newness and the prices that usually go down over time. So with 2023 coming up soon, it might be a good time to try to grab some of these 2024 Bowman guys, because these releases do lose steam after about a month or two on the shelf. So we've got Robert Calais at number 8, and this guy has been just phenomenal throughout his career. He's another guy that's only had complex league and DSL experience. He is like a guy you'll see in the top 5, and he's also like Yasser Mercedes. He's yet to play in low A. The other thing that really makes me nervous about Calais is the fact that he is in the Colorado Rockies organization, and they have not been known for very good player development. I do know that Hartford is a tough place to play, and that's where a lot of the AA affiliate, that's where a lot of Rockies prospects go to die. We were talking about that in our Discord server today, about the handful of Rockies prospects who get to AA and really struggle at that level. You're going to see a guy up here after Calais, Cole Carrick, who's absolutely mashing right now, and that's actually the guy we were talking about. What's going to happen when he gets to AA Hartford? And that's, like I said, a place where a lot of the Rockies prospects go to die. But he's hit 4 home runs, a triple, 2 doubles, 14 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. He's hitting 349 on the season with a 302 ISO, 10 homers, 12 stolen bases, no red flags in the K department. So right now he's looking like a pretty solid prospect. But like I said, we cannot get too excited about these guys until they get to low A, high A. I've seen a lot of players just destroy the complex league and the DSL, as I mentioned earlier in the video. And it's a little better when they do damage in both, because some players, they get to the complex league and they're still pretty bad after doing well in the DSL. But there is hope for Calais. I think he could be a very high ceiling player. 2024 Bowman, his cards are about $35 right now. Number 7, we just got done talking about Cole Carrick, 22.2 Colorado Rockies. He plays center field and shortstop. He's a very athletic kid. He's got the most stolen bases on this list at 33, .304 batting average, 220 ISO, no red flag K numbers. He's actually got a sub 20 K percentage, which is really good. 4 home runs over the last 30 days. He's got 10 home runs on the year. So Cole Carrick is really starting to emerge as one of the better players performing right now out of 2023 draft. But like I said, the promotion to Double A is imminent, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with Carey, because you all know how quickly this hobby works. If he goes to Double A and struggles over, say 50 to 70 plate appearances, everybody's going to freak out, and his prices are going to dip back down. But he's still pretty cheap at $15. He's got 46 stolen bases over his career, which is 511 plate appearances. So he's got a big bat. He's got great defensive versatility and ceiling, and he's also got some power and speed. So a lot of things working very well for Carrick. At number 6, we've got Cooper Kinney. And before I made this hot sheet video, I did notice he was performing pretty well post All-Star break and pre-All-Star break. I did scoop up a PSA 10 auto of him for only $20 last week while I was on vacation. I did a bunch of shopping while I was sitting by the pool on my phone, and my wife and her sister-in-law were shopping in the little community we vacationed in, so I was doing some shopping of my own. But I found a great deal on a Cooper Kinney card, so I did scoop one of those up. I'm not saying future All-Star, but he could profile as an everyday player with his bat. He's got a pretty solid ISO at 211, at 298 batting average so far this year. He missed the entire 2022 season with an injury, but like I said, I think there's more sleeper upside here than anything. He doesn't walk much. Those are the only flags there. The K rate's 22.8. It's not scary, and he does not walk. Like I said, 2.77 K to walk ratio. So 163 on the Juggernaut. He's Let's Talk Wax rank of 3. His cards are super cheap at $5. All right, now we're going to take a look at our top 5 honorable mentions from each league. I do combine AAA and the DSL complex leagues. So we're going to start with the International and Pacific Coast League. Matthew Lugo, 23.2 Boston Red Sox, 3 home runs over the last 30 days. He's got 16 home runs on the season and hitting .295. The big thing with Lugo is a lack of defensive upside, and he's got no base autos, so his stuff's right around $25 right now. Another Boston Red Sox prospect, Nick York, who's pretty much knocking on the door to the MLB, had 4 home runs over the last 30 days. His stuff is still very cheap at around $50 for his 2020 Bowman draft autos. Jorbit Vivas, New York Yankees. He's more of a utility guy. He's another guy with no base autos. His cards are right around $40. He missed some time with an injury, but he's got a career .278 batting average with some power and speed. 3 home runs over the last 30 with 6 stolen bases. Marco Luciano is back in AAA. He had a very K-heavy 2023 in the MLB and the minor leagues. His K numbers are down a little bit in 2024, and he's kind of injury prone. I think his stuff's as cheap as it's ever been at around $50 out of 2019 Bowman, but he did hit 6 home runs over the last 30 days. We talked about how good Kobe Mayo is. He's been on the hot sheet, I think, every episode this entire season. 22.6 Baltimore Orioles, third base, first base prospect. I did see something about maybe a possible trade of Ryan Mountcastle happening on some, not sure what social media it was, but that would work out very well for guys like Basallo and Mayo. He is a $135 auto right now with out of 2021 Bowman. Ice cold in AAA. Jordan Walker was optioned to AAA in April. He's hitting .238 with a 125 ISO since. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming post-draft. He was a phenomenal bat in the minor leagues, but now he's a guy who struggled at the major league level, and he's struggling a little bit at the AAA level. Hopefully he can find himself by the end of the 2024 season. His cards are SP'd out of 2020 Bowman draft, and they're around $200. Heading into the AA Eastern League is Milan Tolentino, 22.6, another guy out of 2020 Bowman draft. His cards are super cheap at $5 a piece. He's got 4 homers over the last 30 with a 1.008 OPS. He's a career .257 hitter, but he's had the highest career power output in 2024 so far. But as with some guys, their career high power output is still average, and that's what Milan Tolentino brings to the table. Christian Campbell is on the honorable mentions this week, or this 30 days. He was actually in the top 15 on the last episode. He is a hit machine, a home run, 6 doubles, 10 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. He's got a career 340 batting average, 12 home runs so far in 2024. So there could be some log jam type activity going on at second base in the Boston Red Sox organization. Sterling Thompson is back. We talked about those struggles in Double-A, and Sterling Thompson definitely faced those in the 2024 season and 2023 season since entering Hartford. He's got a very low defensive ceiling, but he had amazing power numbers in high A and post-draft until he got the Double-A. 5 home runs over the last 30 days. He's getting up there in age, though, at 23.1. CJ Kayfus was a top 15er on the last episode, 22.7 Cleveland Guardians first baseman. Not a lot of defensive upside here, but he might have enough bat to profile there. Young Kenzie Noel was recently called up, and he's got a pretty big bat as well. 23 Bowman draft for $20. His cards are pretty cheap right now still, but like I said, he's really going to have to hit to kind of make up for his lack of defensive ability. At number 5, Warming Bernabel, a guy that I thought had fallen off the face of the earth, but he just went to Double-A Hartford and struggled for 2 years. 22.1, he's a third baseman in the Rockies organization, had 3 home runs and hit .354. The big thing, I did like Bernabel as a contact bat early in his minor league career, but he doesn't walk. I think he's very swing happy, and I think that kind of had an effect on his numbers in the upper minors. But like I said, also you could chalk that up to Hartford, where a lot of Colorado prospects go to die, including Adiel Amador, who is struggling tremendously this year. He was one of my favorite prospects last year, I think, going into the 2024 season. But hopefully it's just a kind of a recovery effort at this point for him. He's hitting 174 over the last 30 days with 22 strikeouts. So he's officially moved to second base. He's not playing shortstop any longer as well. His cards are pretty cheap right now. A 2021 Bowman for about $25. And you can kind of see there, how the Hartford factor. Lots of action in the Double-A Southern League, which is a league that doesn't see a ton of action. We do get a lot of late season action out of the Eastern League once it warms up over there on the east or northeast coast. But we've got Matt Shaw, hopefully trying to come back in 2024 in the back half and put up some of his 2023 numbers. He had a huge debut last year. He's spending a full season in Double-A this year, hitting .257 with 11 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He's the top shortstop prospect in that organization. Jacob Berry finally making a hot sheet since being the 6th overall pick. I think it was 2 years ago out of the 2022 draft. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that feels right. He played at Arizona. He came over to LSU with Jay Johnson for his first year. Had a big year. Got drafted 6th overall, but hasn't really panned out in the minor leagues. 4 home runs and 16 RBIs over the last 30, but he's getting up there in age at 23.2. At number 3, we've got Kevin Alcantara, 22.1 Chicago Cubs, .310 batting average over the last 30 with 3 home runs. His 2021 Bowman Chrome autos are at an all-time low of about $25. I think they actually jumped a little bit. They were down around like 15 to 20 at one point. I still think there's a lot of upside with Alcantara here. It just depends on how much power he runs into over the next year or two. He's a long-levered guy with plenty of room to grow physically and put on some quality strength. So we'll see what happens. I did get to purchase a Kevin Alcantara PSA 10 auto a few weeks ago for about $55, and I figured, why not? It seems pretty cheap. And like I said, this is an all-time low for Alcantara, so maybe he can pick it up in the back half. Carlos Rodriguez at number 4, 23.6, another oldie on this list. Milwaukee Brewers hitting .289 with 2 home runs, 2 triples, 4 doubles, and 14 RBIs over the last 30 days. He is a $1 auto out of 2021 Bowman Chrome. He's got an average hit tool, but doesn't have enough thump to occupy a corner position as an everyday big leaguer. So that's probably why his cards are super cheap. At number 5, we've got Brock Wilken, who's had 12 home runs on the season after a brutal injury in the front half, getting hit in the face with a fastball. He could hit 20-plus home runs in 2024, I think, still. 2024 Bowman release, his cards are $30. While he didn't hit for much average, he did hit 6 home runs over the last 30 days. Josh Rivera out of the University of Florida, struggling a little bit in Double-A. He's a first chrome only outside of an inscription auto, but he's had lots of struggles since entering Double-A, which a lot of players do post-draft. They do pretty well in High A, and they get to Double-A, and there are some struggles, and that's where you usually see a little bit of a dip in performance, and whenever we have a dip in performance, we have a definite dip in price. So definitely something to keep in mind with your prospecting is the Double-A factor, because the High A to Double-A is a huge jump. Low A to High A is a pretty good jump in itself. We saw guys like Gunnar Henderson struggle in their first tidbit of High A, but the jump to High A from High A to Double-A is significant. It's a huge jump, and it only gets worse from there, jumping from Double-A and Triple-A to the major league level. So be aware of those jumps and how they could impact a player's performance, because there is sometimes an adjustment period for sure. In the Texas League, we've got Daniel Susac, 23.2, had 3 home runs and 16 RBIs over the last 15. He's got a non-first auto in 2024 Bowman and a first chrome in 23 Bowman. So whatever tickles your fancy. If you like the autos, it's going to be a non-first though. He's got a .297 batting average with 6 home runs so far in Double-A this year. Jimmy Crooks, another 23-year-old St. Louis Cardinals catcher, had 4 home runs and a 1.048 OPS. Out of 2022 draft, his cards are $5. He's had the best year of his career in 2024 in Double-A so far. He's hitting .305 with 5 dingers. Luke Keshaw, probably one of the biggest surprises out of 2023 draft. He's having an amazing year. Had 3 more home runs, an OPS just under 1,000. He's an infielder with the Minnesota Twins. One of the biggest surprises, like I said, out of the draft, hitting .326 with 11 home runs and 21 stolen bases between High A and Double-A this year. And his stuff is definitely starting to climb as he performs well at the highest level of minor league baseball. Yener Fernandez, 21.8 Los Angeles Dodgers catcher. He is contact way over power, and he's got a .254 batting average in Double-A with 1 home run. His stuff is super cheap at $5. Along with Junior Perez, another $5 auto out of 2023 Bowman Chrome, 7 doubles and 7 stolen bases. Now he's got 6 home runs and 21 stolen bases so far in Double-A, but he's a career .233 hitter, which would explain the $5 auto. Harry Ford is on the ice cold list in this episode. I did just pick up a Harry Ford Bowman Chrome auto a few weeks ago for around $50. They've been selling pretty much there for a long time, and I bought that with the hopes of him having a very good performance in 2025 spring training. I don't really foresee Harry Ford exploding in 2024. He's been very consistent with his numbers, but I do think he's a guy who could get some TV time next year in spring training, so maybe that will pan out for me. Maybe it won't, but like I said, he's got a very high floor, excellent behind the plate, excellent athlete, and definitely a guy who is down right now but not out. Batting leadoff in High A is the South Atlantic League, and Colton Ledbetter takes the number 1 spot, 22.7 Tampa Bay Rays OPS north of 1,000, 2 home runs. He's hitting .268 with 11 home runs and 25 stolen bases so far in 2024. He does have elevated K rates and an elevated K to walk ratio though in 2024, but his cards are super cheap at $5 out of 23 draft. Justin Crawford, he was just the number 1 person. He's in the highest tier of my top 100 Bowman Chrome autos, under $50. But his cards have peaked above $50 in the last week because he's still performing after being promoted to High A. He's got 29 stolen bases and a .303 batting average between Low A and High A. He's got a career high 6 home runs in 2024 so far, so he could be growing into some power. And if he does grow into some power, he's going to become a very high-profile prospect. I just don't know how much he's going to grow into. At number 3, we've got Termarr Johnson, who's got big poolside juice. He's struggled to hit for average. He's got a .243 career batting average, but he's still pretty young for High A. So there is some time for him to make some adjustments and maybe make some more contact and dive into some more power. He's a $65 auto out of 2022 draft. Carter Young, 23.5 Baltimore Orioles. He's a first chrome only guy, and this is definitely a hot streak here. He's got awful career numbers, and he's way too old to be in high A. So if you're holding on to any Carter Young first chromes, now may be a good time to throw them on eBay. Jack Brannigan hit 225, but he was able to put out 8 home runs in that process. 23.4 years old, Pittsburgh Pirates third baseman. There's definitely some thump here, but he's got a 27% K rate, and he's nearly 24 with no AA experience. And ice cold in the South Atlantic League is Jared Cerna. He's got enough power, I think, to possibly hit 20 home runs in the minor league, but he's got a fringy hit tool, and he's a bit too old for the level at 22.1. High A Midwest League, Luke Adams, 20.3. He's got a OPS north of 1,000. Again, 244 batting average, 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 16 RBIs, and 17 walks out of 24 Bowman for $5. We're looking at a fringy bat here with a higher speed power ceiling, 9 home runs and 22 stolen bases. But he's a career 241 hitter, something to definitely keep in mind when you're looking at these speed power guys. Jadhair Arianamo, 24 Bowman, another $5 auto. He's got a career 300 hitter. He's got fringy power and above average speed on the bases, 7 home runs and 28 stolen bases in 2024 so far. Number 3 is Sal Stewart, 20.6 Cincinnati Reds. I love the bat here. I'm just not sure what he's going to be capable of defensively. He was recently put on the 7-day injured list with a hand injury. He's got a plus approach and limited swing and miss. I think his offensive ceiling depends on how much power he runs into over the next few years. Cooper Engel at number 4, Cleveland Guardians catcher, 3 homers, a double, 13 RBIs, 13 walks out of 23 Bowman draft for $10. He hits for average. He's got a .318 career batting average and a career high 7 home runs in 2024 so far. I do think this guy needs a promotion to AA to see what we have as a 22-year-old in that organization. Rain Doncon. He's got 5 homers and 5 doubles over the last 30 days. He's got definitely a power over hit ceiling, but he's most likely trending towards third base. I don't think we're going to see a lot of him at shortstop in the future. Ice cold is Ethan Salas. He's still 18.2, playing in high A. He's got all-star caliber defense, but the bat has me a bit worried at this point. The bat struggled tremendously in high A and AA last year. It's struggling again at high A this year, so I definitely want to see some offensive improvements before I spend $125 on an Ethan Salas Chrome Auto right now. Wrapping up high A is the Northwest League, Alexander Suarez. His numbers are kind of all over the place. He's 22.6 in the San Francisco Giants organization. He's a fringy bat that doesn't walk and has high K rates, and he's a little too old for high A, which would explain the $5 auto. Michael Arroyo has gained some serious steam. Seattle Mariners infielder. He's hitting 256 over the last 33 home runs, 2 triples, 2 doubles, and 15 walks. He was promoted to high A last month, and he's hitting 273 with a 215 ISO, 14 homers, 13 doubles, and 7 triples so far in 2024. So definitely some improvements from the back half of last year. Axel Sanchez, another Seattle Mariners prospect, shortstop, second base, had 2 home runs, a double, and 7 RBIs. I would say this is probably a hot streak in my opinion. He hasn't hit above 200 in high A across 2 seasons. He's a high A repeater and doesn't have a lot of great contact. So that's up to you. You make the decisions, but to me it does seem like a bit of a hot streak. I'm not sure how much we're going to get out of Axel Sanchez over the course of a career. Bryant Betancourt, 20.7 Colorado Rockies catcher slash first baseman, had 4 home runs. Consistently hits around 250 with some fringy power at best, another $5 auto. And Bryce Eldridge, recently promoted to high A after hitting 10 jacks in low A. His power's down in high A so far, but he's still hitting 275. And like I said, the adjustment from low A to high A and high A to double A, sometimes you see power numbers dip as hitters get acclimated to new arms and better arms. So I definitely am not concerned about the power dip, and I'm excited that he's hitting for some average upon his recent promotion to high A. Now, another guy that has struggled a little bit in high A after a promotion is Lazaro Montes. He's got 26 strikeouts, hitting 197 over the last 30. I feel like he may have left his bat in Modesto, and it's currently stuck in a USPS sorting facility somewhere. In the Carolina League, in low A, we've got Austin Charles, 353 batting average with a homer and some extra base hits. He's growing into more power and has plus speed, but he's definitely a risky hit tool with elevated K numbers in 2024. Blake Mitchell. He is definitely a bit of a risky hit tool, but he's got some big thump, and he does play a premium position behind the plate. He's got a 210 ISO, but a 30% K rate in 2024. Jason Chourio, the hit man, he's hitting 269 with 6 doubles, 6 stolen bases, and 14 walks. He's 19.2 years old. Might see him in high A by the end of the year. He's got an advanced approach, 22 doubles. I'm not sure how much power he'll run into. That's going to depend, or that's going to pretty much be his big ceiling question mark, is how much power does Jason Chourio run into. It's a much different profile than his brother for sure, so I wouldn't bank on him being the next Jackson. Wilfredo Antunez, 22.2 and 869 OPS. He's too old for the level. Carolina League was cold this month. But yeah, we got some guys on here that aren't really great performances. Alfonso Rosario, like I said, this has been a kind of a cold league over the last 30 days. Another $5. He's got some juice, but has a suspect hit tool. 33% K rate in low A with a 232 batting average. Ralphie Velasquez struggling a little bit with 17 punch-outs over the last 30. He's got 9 home runs on the year with a 253 batting average, so not to be very alarmed. I think he's just going through a bit of a cold streak, and he should recover. He's a pretty good bat to check out. Florida State League, Max Clark, 19.6, Detroit Tigers, hitting 286 with 7 home runs and 26 stolen bases so far. Everyone knows the tools are there with this kid. It's just a matter of how quickly he can put it all together. His cards are still sitting around $175 out of 2023 Bowman draft. Walker Jenkins, another high profile prospect, 19.4. Hit a home run, a triple, 3 doubles, had 12 RBIs and 17 walks. Out of 2024 Bowman, $125 auto. This dude's really good, and I think we'll see him in 2024 by the end of the year. I would probably, if I had to pick between Jenkins and Clark, I would probably go with Jenkins, just because I think it's a special hit tool. As far as complete tools go, I think Max Clark has he's more of a complete player, but I really do believe that Walker Jenkins' bat could be an impact major league bat down the road. But like I said, that's a Let's Talk Wax issue, not a Juggernaut ranking issue. Esmeralyn Valdez at number 3, 3 home runs, 24 Bowman. He's got a $5 auto. There's some thump here at the cost of a 30+ K percentage in low A, and he's 20+ years of age. So 2 things to consider there. Yerlin Confident, he's been bad since blowing up in the ACL in 2021. He's another one of those guys that you got to watch that does well in the DSL and does well in the complex league, and then kind of falls flat on his face once he gets to the A's in the minor leagues. So not sure if that's a hot streak or he's going to try to turn his career around, but it's definitely looking like more of a hot streak. Sorry, nice little hiccup there for you. Devin Saltabon, 19.6, Philadelphia Phillies, 11 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 225 batting average. Probably not going to be an impact runner. Like I said, there's a little bit of a speed hit tool blooming there, but I'm not sure how much speed he's going to run to outside of low A, where stolen bases are pretty much free. Kiner Delgado traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates and hasn't been very good since. He did hit 4 home runs. 16 Ks, not terrible numbers, but he's one of the more notable guys struggling in the Florida State League. Rossman Verdugo in low A, 19.4, 1,000+ OPS over the last 30. 2022 Bowman Chrome for $5. He's a risky bat, high K rates, as low as a low A repeater. He did hit 31 doubles in 2023, and he's growing into some more power, so maybe he'll turn some of those doubles into home runs. 9 home runs in 2024 and only 3 home runs in 2023. So he's definitely growing into a little bit. Clark Elliott is a $1 auto, so we're not going to spend a lot of time there. My voice is actually starting to give me some fits. It's been a while since I've recorded a video. I was lounging on vacation all over the last week, so I'm trying to keep it together here. These hot sheets do tend to get kind of long, but I think it's data that you guys can use to make decisions on who you want to collect in the hobby. Demetrio Crisantes is gaining a lot of hobby steam, advanced approach and hit tool. I'm not sure how much power is in the tank, but I'm seeing a lot of guys trying to grab Crisantes right now on different social media groups. Colt Emerson, high profile prospect. His last buy it now best offer auto was $150. He's got a very high ceiling with an advanced approach. He's got legs like tree trunks. You can tell he did a lot of work in the offseason. between 2023 and 2024. He's still very young at 19 years old, probably one of the highest profile prospects in that Seattle Mariners organization. Andy Perez, Colorado Rockies. He's a low A repeater that's growing into more power. He was good for 1 home run in 2023 and hit 7 so far in 2024. Ty Pete striking out quite a bit in low A, 32 punchies over the last 30 days, which is quite a lot. He's holding a 34% K rate with really only doubles and gap power as we speak. Finishing up our honorable mentions is Eric Battanti, a guy that I'm very interested in but not quite sure about yet. He's got a little bit of a fringy hit tool. He's got high career K rates, probably destined for first base, not a very high defensive ceiling, but he's hitting .322 with a .247 ISO right now in the Complex League at 18.7. Definitely a guy that I'm keeping an eye on, but it's one that I'm also not 100% all in yet because of the K rates and low defensive ceiling. So we're going to see what happens with Eric Battanti over the next year or two. We got Joendry Vargas, a lot of guys chasing Joendry Vargas, a lot of tools there, 303 batting average of 190 ISO. We still have several. There's, like I said, he's another one of the kids on this list that are crushing the Complex League that haven't made a low A or played in any A ball over the course of their career. So we're still kind of floating in limbo as to whether, they can hack A, high A, and double A. But Joendry Vargas is probably one of the bigger success stories out of any Chrome release because there are not a lot of success stories that come out of those. With it imminent releasing 2024 Chrome, just be very careful. Chrome's my least favorite release of the year. I really hate covering Chrome releases because it's all DSL stats and Complex League stats, and I do my top 25 videos and only like 5% of those players end up performing in low A. So I really hate the Chrome releases. Walker Martin, I'm not going to go on anymore about that. 20.4 San Francisco Giants shortstop, had 4 home runs but only hit .232 over the last 30. He's pretty much George Wolko 2.0. He's a big dude, lots of power, but he is very K prone. Daverson Gutierrez, 18.9 New York Mets catcher. He's a $5 auto out of 2023 Chrome. He was bad in 2023, promoted to the Complex League. I like the hit tool, sub 10K percentage, but there's not a lot of juice happening here with Gutierrez. Javier Osorio, 19.2 Detroit Tigers, had 3 home runs. He is in the DSL, and this is his 3rd consecutive season in the DSL. Though it's his best, it's still his 3rd season in the DSL, so you can see why his cards are $5. Rainer Arias isn't terrible, but like I said, he's one of the more notable names that is struggling a little bit. He had 6 doubles, hit .239. He's got a .227 batting average with a 107 ISO in 2024, and he was a guy that was in my top 5 on the 2023 Chrome video because his numbers were outstanding in the DSL, and I really can't not put them on that list without getting 85 comments saying you're crazy, you're dumb, and Rainer Arias is really good. But when you look at what happens outside of a DSL, you start to see where I come from. So maybe I'll change my approach on my Bowman Chrome breakdowns in the future. But like I said, tread very, very, very lightly on DSL stats. And just because I put a guy 50 to 60, probably maybe even 70% of the players on a Chrome release we only have DSL numbers to work with, so I'm very limited. I'm going to do a huge disclaimer for my 2024 Chrome video to say, look, these are DSL stats, be very wary. That's going to bring us to our top 5. Jacob Wilson, Oakland A's shortstop. He was promoted on July 19th. He got his first hit and yanked a hammy rounding third base. He's on the 10-day injured list. An awful, awful situation for the poor kid. He is batting 1,000 though at the major league level, the highest batting average, I think, in the major leagues right now. 1 for 1, baby. Can't deny that. 4 home runs over the last 30 days in AAA. Had a .438 batting average on the year, .248 ISO. I think the sample size with his previous injury, the knee injury, is kind of inflated his ISO. I don't think he's going to hold a .248 ISO ever again in his career. I've talked about him in the Juggernaut videos and the hot sheet videos. He doesn't strike out. He walks. He's number 1 on my Juggernaut ranking system because of his stats. He's a 1.5 Let's Talk Wax rank. And his cards are right around $80 to $85 right now. And they may dip a little bit since the injury, but depending on how long he's on the injured list, I don't see that happening. I don't see too big of a dip happening there. George Wolko, 18.6, and pretty much the story is here, light tower power and light tower Ks. He's got a 41.8% K rate in his season so far in the Complex League and Low A. He's got 93 strikeouts in 222 plate appearances, but he's still a baby. You know, Aaron Judge did struggle a little bit with some K issues in his career. I'm not saying he's the next Aaron Judge, but he does have some significant power, and he's like 6'4", so a guy to keep an eye on, but definitely not a guy that I would be interested in right now with those K rates. Welbin Francisca, I was able to scoop up a ton of Welbin. I was looking at my Juggernaut ranks about 2 weeks ago, and I saw him like sitting right around 100 to 200. And I went and checked him out. Really liked his numbers. He was actually starting to heat up right as I was buying these for like $50 for a PSA 10. And I was like, man, this guy's way too cheap. But I'm usually very hesitant to buy prospects, like I said, who have not played in Low A yet. I've been burned a few times by guys like that, but you know, I'm trying to live dangerously in my old age of 40. I just turned 40 in July, so I'm living a little more dangerously with Welbin Francisco. I was able to scoop up a bunch of his stuff for super cheap about 2 weeks ago, but he's hit .507 over the last 30 days of 4 homers, 7 doubles, 10 ribbies, and 5 stolen bases, hitting .339 with a .206 batting average over the Complex League so far this year. And the thing that I was very I guess that persuaded me to buy a guy who has no low A stats are the K numbers, a 10.9 K percentage, and he takes more walks than he strikes out. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on, Welbin Francisca. His cards actually grade pretty well too. I think the pop on his PSA or his base PSA, let me rephrase, let me start over. I think the population report on his base chrome cards is very high for PSA 10 grade. So if you have any Welbin Francisca, be sure to take a look if they're subworthy before you just go ahead and sell those, because it could increase the value quite a bit for a PSA 10. Alexander Ramirez stinks, but he did hit 7 home runs over the last 30 days, so I couldn't keep him off the hot sheet. He's 21.9, playing in Low A. He's a career .234 hitter. 22 years old, Low A. It might be a great time to sell Alexander Ramirez out of 2021 Bowman if you're holding on to any of his. He was the 7 Let's Talk Wax Frankie that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So definitely a hot streak for this guy. And I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he'll go on to hit 20 more home runs over the course of the season, but I really don't foresee that happening. Alan Castro actually takes the number 1 spot on this episode, 21.2. Boston Red Sox outfielder playing in high A right now, hit 8 homers over the last 30 days with a .309 batting average. He's not having a very bad year. He's got the most home runs on this list at 11. Doesn't have very impactful speed. He's hitting .241 with a .195 ISO. Decent K numbers. He did hit of his 8 home runs were he only had 11 on the year, so he hit about 80% of his home runs over the last 30 days. So the hot streak here definitely helped him. I'm not really sure if he's going to pan out to be a great player. If it's a hot streak, his numbers are just kind of like fringy, floating in the middle of air, waiting for him to do really well or, you know, struggle. So I'm not really sure what to expect here with Alan Castro. A bit old for high A. He definitely wouldn't be a guy that I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of because he's number 1 on the hot sheet. I would definitely wait this guy out and see what he can do at the AA level. But he's number 300 on the Juggernaut rank system. He's the number 4 on my Let's Talk Wax rankings. It is a super cheap auto for $10 out of 2024 Bowman. That's going to wrap up this video. I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon level 3 sponsors. You guys rock. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and y'all have a wonderful day.